In Skins, the female characters appear at first to fit familiar types. Michelle is the hot one, meant to care about boys, clothes, and keeping everyone's attention. Jael is the smart one, serious, sensible, the killjoy who keeps everyone in check. And Sketch is the crazy one, obsessive, unpredictable, the kind of girl people avoid. In this video, I'll take a closer look at how these girls are shaped by the roles they are given, and whether they ever really break free from them. Michelle Richardson is a character who tends to split Skins viewers. Some relate to her deeply. They see her insecurities, her craving for validation, and her toxic relationship with Tony as a real honest reflection of what many teenage girls and young women go through. Others find her selfishness and emotional ups and downs, especially in season 2, harder to forgive. Even April Pearson, who played Michelle, said on her podcast that Michelle was often the least liked character during the show's original run, and that she felt limited by the role the script gave her.
I thought, why am I the least favourite? I don't understand. What am I doing? Why is my performance not working? And actually, you can only do what's written.
Michelle's surname, Richardson, kind of fits too. It hints at her constant reaching for a richer life, for more love, more attention, more status. As the quote-unquote hot girl of the group, Michelle's performance of girlhood revolves around being desirable and wanted. But underneath all of that, she's grappling with real insecurities and contradictions, which makes her both relatable and extremely frustrating. Michelle's family dynamic is the root of one of her most defining traits, tying her self-worth to male attention and validation. Her home life revolves around her mother's relationships, and Michelle is constantly adapting to whichever man her mom is in love with. In season 1, her stepdad is Malcolm, a 27-year-old unemployed guy who Michelle believes is just using her mom for money.
I can only assume you've got a huge because there's no other reason she'd waste her time on a tit like you.
In season 2, he's replaced by Ted, older, more respectable man on the surface, until you see how disturbingly close he is with his daughter Scarlett.
No need to be shy, darling. I mean, we're all family now.
In total, Michelle goes through 4 stepdads in 7 or 8 years. You never hear a word about her biological dad, which quietly says a lot. She's never had stable male figures around, and growing up in a house where everything revolves around whichever man her mom is dating teaches her one thing: men always come first.
Malcolm says you were rude to him. You'll go and say you're sorry. No! Go and say you're sorry to my husband!
Michelle is in many ways a reflection of her mother Anna. Anna is an interior designer. Her job is all about aesthetics, presentation, and transforming spaces, and she applies those same patterns to her personal life. She essentially redesigns herself for every man she's with. She's confident, sharp, independent, until it comes to love. Then logic goes out the window.
He's the one. We've got a future and I'm going to go for it.
In season 2, she lies about liking sushi just to impress Ted, and redesigns an entire home for him in a style she'd normally hate. But the real damage is how she constantly puts her husbands above her daughter. In season 2, Michelle is forced to move to a new house further from her friends and give up her room when her new stepsister Scarlett moves in indefinitely. Anna doesn't fight for Michelle. She offers a weak apology and lets Michelle sleep in the closet.
Mum, I'm sorry.
Moments like this quietly remind Michelle that she'll always come after Anna's husbands and her work. There's another telling moment in season 1. Michelle is upset after Tony tries to hook up with Maxie during their class trip to Russia. Anna checks in on her, but barely. She tells Michelle to make it quick because she has to get to work. And her advice?
Right, well, say you're sorry or something, I don't know.
That's the version of love she passes down to her daughter. One where the guy's behavior doesn't matter as much as keeping him around. Anna and Michelle act like best friends, and they do love each other, but that closeness comes with blurry boundaries. Anna often treats Michelle like her emotional support system. When Malcolm leaves in season 1, it's Michelle who comforts her, and even tries to get them back together, knowing how unhealthy their relationship is. If it makes her mom happy for a while, maybe it's worth it. That's the same logic Michelle uses in her on and off relationship with Tony. You can't be your parents' parent, and definitely not their relationship counselor. But that's the role Michelle keeps falling into. Even in season 2, during her unseen episode, she's back at it again, trying to find her mom a new boyfriend through a dating site.
She's laid back, easygoing, and a really great person to be around.
Michelle's intense preoccupation with her beauty and sexuality doesn't come out of nowhere either. Anna is openly flirtatious and sexual. It's not as chaotic as Cassie's home life. Anna is classier, you could say. But the line between what's appropriate to share with your daughter and what isn't is still blurred.
I really loved having sex
The message Michelle absorbs is obvious. Your looks and your sexuality are your currency. That's where your value and power lie. And you see how she internalizes that. The way she talks about other girls, slut-shaming them or judging them, even when it comes to Tony's cheating.
Fat bitch. You what? Right in my face, you.
It all echoes her mother. Even when Anna tells Michelle not to talk badly about her husbands, she still gossips with her about them. For instance, they mock Scarlett's chest size and how she talks to Ted.
Some pair of bazookas, eh?
Michelle's relationship with her mother and the environment she's grown up in doesn't excuse the way she is, but it does help you understand how her brain has been wired to love, to please, and to perform. On the outside, Michelle seems completely at ease in her own skin. She knows how to dress, how to flirt, and how to get the room's attention. On her MySpace, she even links to Beautiful Agony, a website that features videos of people having an orgasm, captured only from the shoulders up. It's not about nudity, but the essence of eroticism. Michelle takes pride in knowing all the tricks of seduction. As she tells Jel,
You play clarinet and I look shaggable.
It's talent, girl. Pure talent.
but none of it is as effortless as it looks. Sexiness is how Michelle projects control, how she secures affection, and how she proves to herself and the world that she's wanted and loved. Every time she sees Tony, they fall into intense makeout sessions.
Do you have to do that? What? Suck Tony's face off in public all the time?
For them, sex is the language of love. It's how they express affection and how they measure their intimacy.
She loves me. Yeah, babe?
Michelle even admits they never really talk. Their conversations are either foreplay or arguments.
My last boyfriend never really spoke to me. Everything Tony says, you can't work out whether it's a joke or an insult.
At first, being the hot, pretty girl is enough for Michelle. But when she realizes it's the only thing people notice, the facade becomes a cage. And she wonders, what if being wanted is all she's good for?
No one takes me seriously. Ugh, I'm just like the brainless pretty girl, right?
But Michelle isn't just the brainless pretty girl. Skins never treats her like she's dumb. She's good with languages. Across the show, you see her understand Italian, speak Spanish, and even French. She also has solid singing abilities, which help her land the lead female role in the school musical. But if it isn't about boys or fashion, Michelle immediately doubts herself. She doesn't think she's smart enough for a good university. And if Maxie hadn't pushed her, she never would have auditioned for the school play. Her confidence only holds around familiar people. When someone new shows up, especially a new girl, the insecurities spike. The situation with her stepsister Scarlett in season 2 is a great example.
She seems really nice. She's a cow. I don't want her coming.
Scarlett becomes a threat to Michelle because she mirrors everything Michelle is trying so hard to perform. Scarlett is bold, funny, sexy, and unapologetic, and everyone loves her for it.
She's fun.
And I'm not.
Always.
Scarlett's presence threatens Michelle's entire place in the group. Nobody wants to go camping for Michelle's birthday until Scarlett approves the idea. When Michelle asks what gifts her friends brought for her, no one answers. She becomes invisible. After Tony's accident, Michelle feels lost and unsure of who she is without him. When the whole group goes skinny dipping, including Jal and Scarlett, Michelle stays behind, just watching. Maybe she's self-conscious. Tony's constant teasing has chipped away at her self-esteem.
You know what I like about your body?
No.
One boob's bigger than the other.
And it must feel even more intimidating getting naked in front of someone like Scarlett with her perfect curves and big chest. But maybe it's not about her body. Maybe Michelle just doesn't feel like she belongs anymore. She can't tap into that fun and sexy version of herself that she used to perform for everyone. She can't pretend anymore.
Pull yourself together, girl, for fuck's sake.
Even though initially Scarlett seems effortless and untouchable, eventually she shows a different, more vulnerable side. And Michelle realizes that even somebody like Scarlett, who looks perfect on the outside, is pretending in her own way, just like she is.
You're not a bitch, are you? Just pretending.
The episode ends with Michelle finally going skinny dipping, alone at sunrise. There is no one to impress, no performance to put on. This moment is quiet and private and hers. And for a moment, she feels okay in her own skin. Michelle's other major rival is Abigail, an upper-class girl with some explosive anger issues who goes to a private school and lives in a big, fancy house with her brother Josh and their mother Victoria. Her surname, Stock, hints at her being a kind of shallow, stereotypical dumb blonde character. Mike Bailey, who plays Sid, once pointed out in an interview that Michelle sees herself as upper class, or at least wants to be, when in reality she is middle class. It's not something Skins explicitly focuses on, but this detail suddenly makes a lot of sense. It helps explain why Michelle reacts so strongly to Abigail.
What is he doing with the posh bitch?
But at its core, it's about jealousy, because Tony keeps hanging out with Abigail. Tony doesn't really like Abigail, he uses her to provoke Michelle. And with Michelle, making her jealous is how he keeps her chasing him. That's what reassures him that her love is real. Michelle is confused by Tony's constant interest in Abigail, and it makes her question everything, her looks and her worth. Tony tells Michelle that he likes her as she is.
But if you're saying you have to have like huge boobs and blonde hair and I have neither of them. You like me like that, right?
I like you like that.
But he's teasing nickname Nips that Michelle hates and jokes about her body, like pointing out one breast is bigger or making fun of her nipples, complicate that affection. Tony doesn't really know how to be vulnerable, but he knows how to perform romance, how to say the right things. But behind the charm, there's distance. Real emotional openness is something he avoids. He likes seeing how upset Michelle can get and then how easily he can win her back. It's a power play.
She's gonna feel so good when she gets me back.
And the damage sticks. Even when Michelle is with someone else, like Josh, she can't shake Tony's words.
I think one of my tits is bigger than the other.
What?
It's only when she sees Josh's confused reaction that she realizes maybe it's not normal for someone who loves you to say things like that. But with Tony, love and manipulation overlap, and their relationship is anything but simple. Michelle and Tony are that exhausting couple you might envy for a second and then remember why you're sick of them. They're inseparable, sometimes literally showing up in matching outfits. And even though Tony might seem like the less obsessed one, like his world doesn't revolve around Michelle the way hers revolves around him, they're both unhealthily dependent on each other. Michelle is not blind. She knows Tony isn't treating her right. Tony flirts, cheats, ignores her in front of other girls, and Michelle sees it all. Everyone does. But she either pretends not to notice or forgives him way too fast.
I tried to tell you, Shell, but you never want to hear it.
About who, for Christ's sake?
Being Tony's girlfriend, this clever, charismatic guy that many girls swoon over, makes Michelle feel like she matters. If at the end of the day Tony still comes back to her, then she must be different. Being the one is a form of validation she gets addicted to.
You think he ever wants anyone else?
Maybe sometimes. He always wants me the most, though. I'm his girlfriend. That's special, isn't it?
Nicholas Hoult once said in an interview that Michelle is a trophy for Tony, and that's true. He needs Michelle to reflect his power back at him. But Michelle doesn't make it easy. She gets angry, she calls him out, she leaves but comes back, she plays the game, and that keeps Tony engaged. So the cycle continues. Their relationship feeds both their insecurities. Tony gets to feel powerful and forgiven, and Michelle gets to feel special and wanted. When Tony withholds attention, Michelle doesn't mind flirting with other guys as well.
I've never left a bar without being chatted up in my life.
But most often than not, Sid is her emotional crutch. Take the Giles episode in season 1. Michelle helps dress Giles up for a party. Tony compliments her work, but when Michelle's insecurity kicks in and she wants her own appearance acknowledged, Tony shrugs her off.
And I look?
Yeah, cool.
She immediately seeks Sid out. It gets worse when she sees Tony with Abigail. Even after telling Sid she sees him like a brother, she kisses him. A boost to her own confidence before she walks up to Tony and kisses him in front of Abigail. Later, in Chris's episode, it happens again. Michelle deliberately flashes Sid, asking what he thinks of her breasts after Tony jokes about them yet again. She knows Sid will worship her no matter what, and secretly hopes for some reaction from Tony, but Tony just laughs it off.
You know what, Tony? Your eyes are supposed to blur too.
Still, one kiss from Tony and she forgives him. There are two major fights between Tony and Michelle in season 1. The first involves Abigail. To provoke Michelle and stir tension in their relationship, Tony invites her and Sid to his choir performance, where he kisses Abigail on stage and later gropes her backstage.
Checking Abby's diaphragm contractions.
What the hell is going on?
Even worse, Tony offers Michelle to Sid like a prize, telling him,
Ring her, take her for a drink, and see what happens.
At the bar, Michelle kisses Sid on the cheek to apologize for thinking he knew about Tony's plan. She even invites him to dance, crossing another line. But when Tony comes back and drags her away, she doesn't fight it. She lets Tony have her again. What truly shakes Michelle is the Russian trip, when she catches Tony trying to hook up with Maxie. This becomes her breaking point. It's not just that he cheats again, it's who he cheats with. Suddenly, Michelle's whole sense of worth in the relationship feels irrelevant. Her looks, her body, her role as the girlfriend, none of it holds power anymore. When Tony flirts with other girls, Michelle can at least make sense of it. She knows how to compete with girls. But Maxie, that's not her usual ground. So she lashes out in a more violent way, kicking Tony in the balls and calling Maxie a slut.
You're a dirty little slut who f***s around with other people's boyfriends.
Feminizing him in an attempt to make sense of the betrayal. Suddenly she understands she might not know Tony at all. That's why she doesn't forgive him easily. She demands proof of his love.
Tell me like you'd die for me. Like nothing else matters. Like your world stops turning because of me.
When Tony's answer disappoints, she returns to Sid because his love seems more genuine and she wants to know what it feels like. But more than that, she can't sit with the emptiness. Like her mother, she fears being alone, so she grabs whatever comfort she can.
You really love me.
Yeah.
How much?
A lot.
That'll do.
This act exposes something ugly about Michelle, that she can be just as careless with someone's heart as Tony is with hers. Even after Sid rejects her, she quickly moves on to Josh, Abigail's brother. At first, she doesn't want to rush things, but then gives in and sleeps with him. It mirrors the way Michelle's mom jumps into marriages before really knowing the person. Josh treats Michelle with kindness and respect, the way Tony never did, making her feel like the only girl in the world. But Tony ruins it. He sends Michelle nudes of Abigail from Josh's phone, just to break them up. Then he shows up at her house, apologizes about Maxie, and says he might love her.
I think I might love you.
It's an awfully long sentence, Tony.
For the first time, Michelle doesn't take him back, because now she has tasted what being truly wanted and cared for feels like. Tony only begins to change after a traumatic event, when Josh drugs and kidnaps Effie to get revenge. This confrontation strips away Tony's cocky persona for the first time. Josh becomes a kind of mirror, terrifying Tony in a way no one else ever has.
She's dying over there, Tony! You better get hard!
For the first time, Tony feels fear, helplessness, and guilt. That moment forces self-reflection. He starts to recognize how much pain he has caused people. His attempts to win Michelle back after this, finally saying he loves her, are part of that shift. It doesn't mean he becomes perfect or even completely sincere, but it's one of the first moments where you see him genuinely try.
The truth is, I love you.
Season 2 is where it gets harder for a lot of people to stay on Michelle's side or even understand her at all. At the end of Season 1, Tony is hit by a bus just after professing his love to Michelle. The accident leaves him with memory loss and a long recovery process. What the writers do with Tony is interesting. Some might feel that by wiping his memory and putting him in this incredibly helpless state, the show sort of erases all the horrible stuff he did, especially to Michelle. But for me, this is not where the main issue lies. The problem isn't Tony. The problem is how the show handles Michelle. I think it's fair to say that in Season 2, Michelle and Cassie are the most hated characters. And probably Anwar, though he's barely there, and of course Sketch, but she's also barely there. Cassie eventually gets a more sympathetic lens, you could say, in Season 7. However, Michelle never gets that chance. Despite being one of the show's main characters, she's not offered a singular defining moment of growth, the kind of conflict that is truly hers. For example, Tony suffers a life-changing accident. Chris confronts his terminal illness. Sid faces his father's death. Cassie has her mental illness, which is an ongoing thing. Giles grapples with an unexpected pregnancy. Even Maxie, though underdeveloped, has the Sketch storyline. Michelle doesn't get any of that. Like Anwar, she only exists in relation to someone else. In her case, it's Tony. In Anwar's case, it's Maxie. Some might say that that's the point. Michelle is objectified by others and is seen as shallow, so the show reflects that. But Skins critiques her objectification by continuing to objectify her. For example, after her breakup with Tony after the Russian trip, she gets drunk, throws up on Angie, and ends up in a tight, revealing uniform. Skins is about sex, and teenagers do objectify each other. But the show lacks the nuance to explore this thoughtfully, especially when it comes to female sexuality. Some of Michelle's scenes feel like they're pulled straight from the male fantasy brain. They titillate more than they develop her character or her view of herself. That's why Michelle always leaves me with this weird, icky feeling. She's never gets to grow. She's just reacting to Tony. For a character who's supposed to be one of the leads, it feels like the show completely gives up on her. But let's take a closer look at her behavior in Season 2. While Tony is in a coma, Sid is the only one who visits him regularly, reading Anna Karenina to him. No one else from the group shows up, which might be a reflection of how Tony treated everyone. The last week's episodes help fill in a small gap between seasons. In Michelle's, she's dressed in all black, holding a black and white photo of Tony. She puts on red lipstick, but ends up comically smearing it all over her face as she sobs. The scene is strange and amateurish, but the symbolism is clear. She's grieving. In Season 2, Tony is completely unreachable, emotionally dead to her. And yet, it's Michelle's voice in a recorded message played to Tony at the hospital that finally wakes him up. But that's as close as Michelle gets to Tony at first. After their back and forth, she's caught between anger, guilt, and sadness for him, even though he hurt her deeply. She hasn't fully processed their relationship or its impact, so she can't bring herself to visit him, even though she thinks about it and tries.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I go to see him. I I went to see him.
Michelle avoids Tony and everything that reminds her of him. She drinks, parties, and sleeps around to escape, but it only makes her feel emptier. Because without Tony, she feels like she's lost a part of herself. When Michelle finally meets Tony, she tries to reconnect the only way she knows, through physical intimacy. Sex was the main way they showed love to each other, so without that connection, Michelle feels like their relationship is over. When Tony can't respond physically, it confirms this to her.
We had so much. It's all f***ed up for us.
Michelle is still holding on to the version of Tony she loved. Her attachment is tied more to nostalgia and what she wants him to be and not who he really is.
Why can't you get better for me?
Sid, who is dealing with his father's death, becomes Michelle's secret comfort. He is the first person to make her orgasm, which confirms that her relationship with Tony, despite their intense physical connection, lacked the emotional depth she briefly finds with Sid. Sid is excited as his fantasy finally comes true, and he wants everyone to know, including Tony. But Michelle wants to wait. Because to her, this relationship is not real, it's a distraction. Michelle also feels ashamed to be with Sid because he lacks Tony's confidence.
Sid, are you gonna let him...
Tony, I'm objecting
Sid, you're always objecting. Can't you do something for a change?
Their hookup in a public toilet highlights how awkward and guilty Michelle feels. It couldn't be further from the polished image she had with Tony.
If you can't talk to your best mate about it, then maybe it's not awkward, but completely shit.
In season 2, Michelle's behavior hits some very low points, and even the good things she does get overshadowed by her stubborn, self-centered, and impatient nature. One striking example is the situation with her drama teacher, who is extremely inappropriate, checking her out, kissing her to show how Maxie should kiss her in a school play. Despite being clearly uncomfortable and disgusted, at some point Michelle goes along with it and even lets the teacher grope her just to make Tony jealous. It's a disturbing moment that shows just how far she is willing to go. Moreover, Michelle rarely fully owns up to how her actions hurt others. She expects a lot from people but doesn't hold herself to the same standard. Her apologies to Jal and Cassie are half-hearted. She says sorry but never really explains why.
You don't sound very sorry.
Michelle is blind to why Cassie is so angry at her after learning all about her relationship with Sid, which feels hypocritical since they're actually so alike. Cassie also needs constant reassurance.
Would it be helpful if I say I love you again?
He loves you, Cass.
Towards the end of season 2, at a dinner at Chris's place after he almost dies, Michelle tries to apologize to Cassie again, but she ends up dragging everyone else into it, downplaying her mistakes by saying others messed up too.
I'm sorry about what happened, Cassie. I fucked up. Tony fucked up. Sid fucked up.
Michelle returns to Tony after he almost fully recovers, regaining some memories and his old personality. But their reunion happens quickly before she fully sorts out her own feelings. Tony ends up confronting Michelle and Sid, telling them that their relationship is unnatural and real. That's how Michelle finally stops seeing Sid.
Well, she's gone off me too, Tony.
However, she also doesn't immediately come back to Tony. She actually returns the watch Tony gave her for her birthday, as a clear sign she wants distance from him. But Tony floods her with calls and texts. Michelle doesn't answer but also doesn't block him, as Effie points out.
As long as it's ringing, she knows you're there.
Michelle craves feeling wanted but remains confused about what she really wants. Everything happens very fast, and nowadays people would call it love bombing.
How many times have you called her?
39.
Text?
141.
But Tony's overwhelming attention isn't calculated manipulation, but a sign of his own dependency and desperation to reclaim his old life. When Effie secretly repairs Michelle's watch and engraves forever on it to send it back to her, it moves Michelle to finally pick up Tony's call and tell him she loves him.
I love you too.
But it feels like a rushed decision clouded by intense emotions. Tony and Michelle agree to take things slow, which is an indication of some growth. They don't act the way they used to. Physical intimacy is no longer the center of their connection. The ending of season 2 leaves their future ambiguous, especially with them heading to separate universities.
And we're 600 miles apart, and that doesn't feel like success. It doesn't feel like much reward.
Their last conversation sounds bittersweet, as if they both sense their relationship might not last.
We were good, weren't we?
We were better than that.
But it can also be read as them saying goodbye to the old version of their relationship and acknowledging that things will be different now.
I'm not ready for this.
But you sort of need to be.
That final scene focuses mostly on Tony. His admission that he is not ready is one of his most mature moments. But Michelle, she just goes along with it. Even though she agrees, it's hard to tell what she really thinks or feels about it. She started the show as Tony's girlfriend and ends it the same way. And in this last moment, with school ending and everything about to change, you don't get anything about her future, her fears, or who she wants to be. Michelle and Jal have been in the same class since they were 4 years old. Like any friendship, theirs has its ups and downs. Jal is the more dependable one, the one who listens, gives advice, and looks out for people when they don't even notice. She keeps telling Tony to stop calling Michelle Nips.
Stop calling Michelle Nips.
It's a funny name. She's got a funny nipple.
She listens to Michelle complain about Tony again and again.
I bet you 10 quid I know who you're thinking about.
There's times I think me and Tony are gonna get back together.
Even when Michelle lashes out and accuses her of something horrible,
Did you do him?
What? Don't be so stupid, Michelle.
Jal doesn't hold a grudge for long. Later, when Michelle breaks up with Josh, it's still Jal she turns to for comfort.
Has he tried to ring you?
About 1,000 times.
Don't.
Michelle, on the other hand, isn't always as present. She's often too wrapped up in her own drama with Tony. Like when she promises to help Jal pick out a dress for her Young Musician of the Year competition, and then disappears to make out with Tony.
Ring me back when you aren't actually being penetrated, okay?
Michelle eventually helps her with the clothes, but this pattern doesn't change. Even when she and Tony are supposed to be taking it slow, she still puts him first. Right when Jal is facing something that could actually change her life, an unexpected pregnancy.
Así que Tony y yo decidimos salir, ¿vale? Pero no sé nada de él desde ese día. Oh, ¿qué voy a hacer, Jal?
Michelle.
Michelle means well, but she doesn't always show up until it's almost too late. It's Michelle who ends up hinting to Chris that Jal is hiding something big.
Jal's f***ed up worse than any of us, but it doesn't all have to turn to shit.
How's Jal f***ed up?
Michelle doesn't mean harm, but saying Jal effed up the most is unfair. She's not selfish or manipulative, she doesn't play with other people's feelings, she doesn't cheat, she gets pregnant by someone she actually cares about. Michelle isn't malicious, and she shows real maturity in the way she handles the topic of Jal's abortion.
I think you've made the hardest decision I've ever known anyone to make.
Michelle is also there for Jal in the aftermath of Chris's death, patiently helping her face the overwhelming grief. Michelle is in many ways just a regular teenage girl, caught up in her own feelings, often thinking the world revolves around her and her problems.
I know I annoy you, Jal. I don't mean to.
Sure, she can be mean and inconsistent, but that doesn't mean she lacks a heart.
I'm not a good enough person, that's all there is to it.
Hey, you good enough.
I don't need Michelle to be rewritten into some boss babe girl power icon or for her to suddenly reject boys and fashion. I like that she represents the average girl with so-called superficial interests, just wanting love and attention like anyone else. But what really frustrates me is how little the show lets you truly see her. She deserved a little more. A bit more depth, a bit more room to grow, and a few more moments to show who she really is beneath it all. Jal Fazer is often seen as the calm, grounded, and responsible one among her friends, the smart girl who keeps her eyes on the future. Her surname, Fazer, echoes the word phase, highlighting how she seems largely unfazed by all the drama around her. As the smart girl, Jal performs a type of girlhood defined by responsibility and composure, but as the story unfolds, it becomes clear she is not immune to the messy realities of adolescence. Jal grew up in a house full of men, 2 brothers and a dad, and it shows. It's no surprise she knows how to stand her ground. Her father, Ronnie Fazer, once a prominent name in the 90s rap scene and now a producer, filled the house with music, but only the kind he approves of. Jal took a different route, choosing the clarinet and classical training, the choice Ronnie often mocks.
Rooty-tooty music. Maybe you like dancing for Whitey.
And yet, he still buys Jal a new clarinet when hers breaks. Jal is technically the most privileged character in her friend group. Her family is wealthy and her dad has industry connections, but she never uses them. She goes to regular school, doesn't name drop her dad, and tries to succeed on her own. Her brothers, by contrast, constantly lean on their father for money and help with their ventures, while Jal isn't even allowed inside Ronnie's studio. Despite this, Jal's bond with her brothers is strong. They might get on each other's nerves, but when it really matters, like when she tells them she's pregnant or when someone mistreats her, they show up for her no matter what.
I love you guys.
The overall family dynamic is tense, mostly because of Ronnie. He's strict and emotionally distant, especially with Jal. He puts pressure on her to be responsible and independent, but offers little affection.
Why don't you ask me how I am, Dad? I got beat on.
It's not the same kind of neglect you see with Cassie's parents. Ronnie does care, but he only knows how to show it through control and expectations.
You look me in the eye and swear to me this boy won't mess you up somehow.
Why don't you get a life of your own and stay out of mine, okay?
That coldness makes Jal feel like her own father hates her. But the truth is, he's harder on her because she's the only girl in the house. And in his mind, that pressure is his way of preparing her for the world. Skins quietly touches on the racial prejudice Jal faces. When she becomes a finalist for Young Musician of the Year, her school is suddenly interested in her. But not because of her talent, but because they want to celebrate her as a diversity success story. They assume she comes from a poor, uneducated background.
I've prepared a checklist of ways in which we've helped you to overcome your handicaps.
They assume she won't win. They label her an ethnic clarinetist. It's clear they're treating her like a diversity quota, and Jal knows it, so she shuts it down fast. Jal actually doesn't win the competition, but by the end of season 2, it's implied she gets into a prestigious music college in London. The biggest unresolved issue in the Fazer household is their mother's sudden disappearance when the children were still very young. The whole house avoids the topic except Jal. She suspects her father might have done something to drive her mom away.
You f***ed up so bad, and one day we're gonna find out what you did.
But in reality, Jal's mother left on her own terms. When Jal reveals her pregnancy to her family in season 2, her mom suddenly appears for the first and only time. Turns out, Ronnie doesn't hate her. In fact, he tries to keep her informed about what happens with the kids.
Ronnie tells me a lot of things.
No, he doesn't.
Well, you know all about it, don't you?
The show never actually spells out why Jal's mother left, but it strongly suggested she struggled with being a mother. She didn't feel like she fit in with the family life, and in the end, she chose to walk away rather than live a life she didn't want. She warns Jal not to repeat her own mistakes and urges her to carefully consider her decision about having or not having this child.
It was easy to go upstairs and pack a bag, walk to the bus stop. I had some choices.
It's not easy to understand Jal's mother. She had 3 kids before realizing this wasn't the life she wanted. Jal can't forgive her either.
And you could even spare 30 pence to check I was okay, to say happy birthday.
But there's also something about a mother leaving that feels harder to accept. When a father leaves, no one really demands a deep explanation. It's been normalized, even expected, that a man might not want to be tied down to a wife and kids. But when a mother leaves, it unsettles. People want a reason. And somehow, I didn't want to be a mother doesn't feel like enough.
The one thing that your father couldn't forgive was I wasn't honest. That was all.
Jal consistently shows empathy, concern, and leadership with friends, whether it's comforting Sid,
Come on, forget I said.
standing up for Chris, or challenging Tony.
You try it, okay? No mum, no dad. On your own.
She acts as a moral compass for the group. This gives her emotional depth and maturity that's not so common among her peers.
What are you doing?
Babysitting.
We're still going camping for my birthday, though.
However, she's often seen as a party pooper virgin because of this, which is wild because she drinks, parties, and smokes right alongside her friends. But since she doesn't perform femininity the way others do, no flashy outfits, no makeup, no boy chasing, everybody projects this whole boring, nerdy image onto her.
You don't have sex at all, do you? You have clarinet lessons.
I do. I mean, I have had.
There's one small moment that sums this up. She wears one of Michelle's dresses and suddenly the guys in the group finally notice her.
Ciao. Is that you in there?
But she doesn't chase that attention. She's amused by it, but she knows she doesn't need to prove anything. Jal knows who she is. She's confident, especially when it comes to her talent.
I play the clarinet.
Oh yeah, you any good?
Good.
Growing up with brothers, Jal doesn't romanticize boys. She's used to them. Unlike most of her friends, she doesn't put sex or relationships on a pedestal.
There's more to life than sex, eh?
She's sharp, blunt, and not easily impressed. By the end of season 1, Posh Kenneth shows interest in Jal. They dance at Anwar's birthday party, he talks about her in his video diary, but nothing really comes of it. The show drops it, and maybe Jal does too. However, in season 2, something starts to shift between Jal and Chris. They form a surprising connection that catches both of them off guard. The relationship between Jal and Chris isn't as unexpected as it might seem. Throughout season 1, there are many moments hinting at their unique bond. On the surface, they're opposites. Jal is focused, ambitious, and practical, while Chris is chaotic, impulsive, and lives in the moment.
Hey, Jal, where'd you move?
But beneath that, they share a deeper similarity. Both were abandoned by their mothers and are navigating life without the emotional support they need. It's like 2 sides of the same coin, growing up too fast or clinging to childhood. But their connection is complicated. It's not just trauma bonding, though that's part of it. Chris adores Jal. She becomes his safe place, his reason to try harder. He wants to grow up for her. Jal, in turn, starts to loosen up. Chris encourages her to take risks, step outside the strict routine of music practice and responsibility. They make a pact. She'll stop saying no to life and he'll stop saying fuck it. To be honest, I've always found it strange that in season 2, the show suddenly frames Jal as someone who needs to loosen up. Like she's completely joyless and uptight when that was never really the case in my opinion. Still, you can tell that Jal isn't as emotionally open as Chris. Chris is more vulnerable, while Jal is more guarded. She protects him and cares deeply about him, but she's not the type to fall headfirst into love and abandon her personal goals and aspirations. Even when she's living with Chris, she tells Cassie she's not sure she's ever been in love.
Have you ever been in love?
I don't think so.
Her love is quieter, less dramatic, and it often feels like this relationship is uneven. Jal means more to Chris than he does to her. Chris has almost no one else, while Jal has the privilege of always having her father and brothers to fall back on, even if their relationship is tense. This imbalance becomes clear when Chris cheats on Jal with Angie and then tries to explain himself with the presentation about how everyone he loves abandons him.
It's kind of easy when you got nothing, because nothing can't be taken away from you.
In this moment, Jal shows real maturity and self-respect, calling out his self-centeredness instead of letting him guilt-trip her.
Are you the only person in the world that's been let down? The only one that's been hurt, abandoned? So what gives you the right to act like you are?
For Jal, saying no is easy because she has nothing to lose if she breaks up with Chris. But in the end, she does soften, giving him a second chance when she sees his genuine vulnerability and willingness to change.
Right, but then you asked me to try. And for the first time in my life, it felt like someone actually gave a shit. And that person was worth trying for.
Since Cassie's character arc ends up being so tied to Chris and his death, Jal almost completely disappears from the picture. When Chris has his first brain hemorrhage, Jal does stay by his side the entire time in the hospital, off-screen.
She sat beside you the whole time.
Never left me.
She never left you.
Yeah, she loves me.
But after that, it's Cassie who ends up taking care of Chris at home. Jal is away, traveling for her music college callbacks. And then, right before Chris dies, Jal and Chris finally have a real conversation about her pregnancy, which happens off-screen again. They both agree an abortion is the best decision.
She's all I got, so I'm on her side.
But strangely, Jal still chooses to go back to her dad's house that night.
When's Jal getting back?
Tomorrow. So she wants me to think about things.
And that choice ends up being final. Jal isn't there when Chris dies. And it's not that she doesn't care, she clearly does, but she chooses to focus on her future. And the show doesn't villainize her for it, it just quietly lets her step out. It's one of those moments where you can feel how shaky their relationship really was. Chris would have dropped everything for Jal, but Jal couldn't do the same. Jal's story is full of moments that should matter. Her difficult relationship with her dad, her mother's return, her pregnancy, Chris. But most of those moments happen off-screen or get absorbed into someone else's arc. Jal's pregnancy could have been one of the most complex storylines in the show, but it's handled so vaguely that it almost disappears. A lot of Jal's scenes in season 2 just show her looking sad while stroking her belly. You only get glimpses of Jal's feelings, but they circle the same point without ever letting her open up in a deeper way.
Creo que finalmente me he dado cuenta de lo que significa ser adulta. Es cuando tienes que tomar una decisión y nadie te puede ayudar.
The pregnancy plot ends up being more about keeping secrets than really showing Jal wrestle with the choice of having a baby. I like that Skins doesn't show everything, but you can't deny that Jal slowly becomes a background character. And it's such a missed opportunity because the potential is there to show that even someone like Jal, smart, composed, and privileged, can still be shaken by impossible choices. That being the responsible one doesn't protect you from the mess, it just hides it better. The last thing you really see from Jal is her giving a speech at Chris's funeral. It's beautiful, but it doesn't lead her anywhere. In the end, she's where she started. Single, focused on her music, quietly carrying things no one else sees. But she's used to it.
You've got a lot to carry. I'm used to it. Got a lot of revision. I don't mean your bags. I'm used to it.
Lucy's sketch represents the crazy girl, a type of girlhood marked by intense emotions, impulsive behavior, and obsessive attachments. Even her name feels like a label, like she's already been judged as sketchy or unpredictable before anyone really knows her. But beneath all that chaos, there's a complexity that the show only hints at. A girl who is still trying to figure out who she really is.
She stalked Maxie, she's got a drama teacher wrongly fired for sexual abuse, and she tried to poison Michelle.
Sketch.
Lucy Sketch is introduced in season 2 as a brand new main character. She gets her own episode, but her story is tied almost entirely to Maxie and Anwar. It's an odd choice, bringing in a new character for one intense story when there are plenty of side characters who could have been explored. Still, her episode is one of the most uncomfortable and heavy in the show, starting with the claustrophobia of caring for a disabled parent and ending with a surreal school musical about 9/11. Lucy lives with her mom, who uses a wheelchair and relies on her for almost everything. There is no dad, no other family, just the two of them. Lucy is an outsider at school, and at home she feels trapped in a life of dreary routine and constant responsibility. She's missing out on all the milestones of adolescence, so she builds an escape in her head, a fantasy where she's dating her neighbor Maxie. Maxie isn't just a crush, he's a possibility of a better life, the person who can rescue her. Lucy studies his routines, takes secret photographs of him, and leaves gifts in his locker.
Not funny, okay? This is like the 15th present this week.
She tells her mother all about him.
Maxie is dating my daughter.
What?
At one point, she even breaks into Maxie's apartment, puts his shirt and underwear, and pleasures herself in his bed. Lucy knows Maxie is gay, but she still tries to appeal to him, binding her chest, dressing in checkered shirts and suspenders, attempting to become close to a boy.
Look at me! I'm as close to a boy as you can get.
To be near Maxie, Lucy also auditions for the school play. She doesn't get the female lead, but takes a job on the lights, memorizing all the lines and imagining herself kissing Maxie. In her mind, a kiss from Maxie will change everything.
Do you believe in magic, Maxie?
He will realize he loves her, take her away from her life, and everything will fall into place. That fantasy makes Lucy desperate, ready to do whatever it takes to make it real. First, she accuses the drama teacher of assault when he won't give her the role.
Ugly people lack believability. Now, how can I put this kindly? You look like a liar.
Later, she drugs Michelle so she can take her place on stage. She even ties her mom to the bed to stop her from telling the truth.
I didn't bring you up to be a liar.
You didn't bring me up at all! You f***ing cripple!
It's awful, but it makes sense inside Lucy's head. She didn't choose this life. Years of exhaustion and frustration have finally boiled over. Deep down, she loves her mother, but at the same time, she blames her for keeping her trapped.
I will not let you fuck up my life, Mum.
Lucy wants out, but she doesn't know how to balance the life she dreams of with the life she's stuck in. Her attempts to control Maxie and then Anwar are her reactions to feeling powerless in her own life. When the kiss finally happens and Maxie says he felt nothing, the whole fantasy falls apart.
No, that's not how it goes! It's not!
But Lucy doesn't give up. If she can't be with Maxie, she'll make someone else into Maxie. That someone else becomes Anwar. Not because she likes him, but because he's easy to shape. Lucy is still a virgin when she decides to sleep with him. There's no romance in it, no personal meaning. It's matter of fact. A transaction for what she's about to do to him. It's depressing because it shows how little Lucy believes in the idea that anyone could actually want her for who she is. Lucy completely reshapes Anwar into her own version of Maxie. She changes his clothes, his hair, the way he carries himself. She lies to everyone about being over Maxie. She tells Anwar his friends don't care about him, that they will leave him behind. Because if she's going down, she doesn't want to go down alone.
Let's just start this life, shall we, Anwar?
But when Maxie offers Anwar an escape to London after graduation, he takes it, and Lucy is left with nothing. Sketch is a unique antagonist in Skins, one of the few female characters who is intentionally difficult and unlikable, but it's also a tricky balance to pull off. While her own episode gives her a solid backstory and motivation, after that she mostly feels like a plot device. She's there to shock or stir drama rather than grow as a fully rounded character. And honestly, with a name like Sketch, it's almost like the writers knew they had a rough draft. Lucy is not portrayed as other pretty mentally ill girls like Cassie or Effie, who are framed with a kind of romantic lens. You are meant to admire and ache for them. Sketch is confrontational, awkward, manipulative. Her desperation is ugly, which creates a great portrait of loneliness and obsession and how fantasy can both protect and trap a person. But her inner world is mostly shown through her fixation on Maxie, which paints her as more villainous and cartoonishly disruptive than human. The pretty mentally ill girls get to have a second chance at life, but not Sketch. She almost becomes a cautionary example of mental illness's darker side, which definitely makes her unforgettable. Skins shows that the experience of being a girl is complicated. These girls are expected to be hot but not vain, smart but not boring, fun but not reckless, emotional but not unstable. The show gives them moments of real depth, showing their struggles, contradictions, and glimpses of freedom beyond the roles they're given. At the same time, it often leans on those familiar tropes. And by the end, the characters don't fully escape the boxes they're trapped in. Skins leaves a quiet truth about girlhood. There's hardly any room to just be. To be messy and unsure and full of contradictions, without having to perform some version of who you're supposed to be.